I paid $44,000 for it in 1979.
59s are the big ones. Those are
Yeah, 59 Sunburst Les Paul that's been on a million records.
those are like 140. 58s are a little bit less. 60s
Yeah.
are about 100, 120. They're all big, crazy money right now.
I remember it was
Because, there's only a handful.
like 20 years ago.
You know what I mean?
There was, we had one.
It's nice to know in case, I remember dying of something and I need the money or something.
But yeah, it's the value of things is just based on how many there are. That type
Also, the ones that have history of cats that actually played them on things. I mean, that has something to do with it too. That raises the price a little bit.
Absolutely.
But it's.
Did you do all your records with it?
I did all the early shit with it.
Wow.
All right, we're cool. We're rolling.
I'm afraid to take them out on the road. I mean, you can't, so it'd be crazy to leave them lying around somewhere backstage. And all the cats I know that got vintage stuff, it's like, well, no, I'm not going to take that out.
Yeah.
It's like you want to keep them and use.
That's why they started with the whole reissue craze.
Sure, and the reissues are really nice. You can't argue with it. Gibson and Fender.
Yeah.
But there's something about a real old one that has. I played some of Becko's old guitars,
Yeah.
that old fucking Telly. That's got a sound to it, man. And it's his, so it makes it even more bitchin',
I saw, I was over at Shank's place, and I saw this video. I think it was you sitting in with Jeff Beck in Japan.
Yeah, with San Carlos Santana.
You looked like you were like 3.
Well, 3 to the what power?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But my God, that must have been.
It was a rush. It was 1986. Yeah, that's when we first became pals. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was sitting there going like, "There's only one thing wrong with this dream, is I'm in it." It was pretty deep. I'm the luckiest motherfucker in the world. Don't believe me, I know it. We don't need a guitar, do we?
Well, don't you feel a little more comfortable holding one?
You know me.
Halfway through. I mean, it doesn't matter. We can get.
You know me, but whatever you feel more comfortable with. I'm your bitch, so you ask me. Whatever you want to do is cool with me.
We're rolling. We're ready.
Well, since it's a Yardbirds thing, how about a Telly?
That's. I was gonna say, grab me that 54 or 52, whatever. Yeah, there you go. There's the neck. I'm allowed to hold other guitars.
I'm always conscious of that stuff.
No, but that's cool. I mean, like I'm saying, under the circumstances, if it's going to help expedite things,
It's got a little bit more vibe too.
I can always halfway through go, oh no, here's the soon-to-be new vintage.
Yeah, exactly. This should be a series of questions, it's just you and me talking. And it's going to be about the Yardbirds, it's going to be about the record.
Sure.
It's going to be, your
Bring it on.
experiences. One of the first things I want to ask is, what's your first recollection of the band, the Yardbirds?
Let's bring it on. Let's do it.
Go.
Are we filming?
We're rolling, sir.
My first recollection was like when I first got into music. It was the first thing that turned me on to guitar, and all of it was the Beatles. Obviously, that's what turned all of us onto it. Once I got into the Beatles and the Stones, the whole British invasion happened, and then all of a sudden you started hearing a guitar playing at a different level. You know what I mean? I mean, the first time I heard, I didn't even know who it was. I just heard like these amazing guitar sounds, and I think it was like. I forget which tune it was off the Yardbirds record, but it was, it was Beck playing like this amazing, like weird, like almost sitar-esque sound, but I didn't know what it was. I was going, what is that guitar sound? Who is that? What is that? I didn't understand because I was just a kid. I was just getting into playing. And then when I got deeper in, some of the older kids down the block who I was learning guitar from, they turned me on to the records. And I heard about Eric Clapton, Jeff Beck, Jimmy Page. I didn't know who these guys were. I mean, you're talking 1965 maybe, 66, give or take. And I was just like 9 years old. I'd just been playing, for like, a year and a half, just trying to get it together. And I wanted to learn all about, this is right before Hendrix came out, like I think, like on Happenings 10 Years Time, the tune I actually played on the record, it was the first time anybody played a tritone that was semi-atonal on a rock and roll record, it was like to an unschooled ear it would almost sound like it was wrong. But this is stuff that, like, I don't think Jimi Hendrix would have been Jimi Hendrix without hearing Jeff Beck play that stuff. And obviously, you know, Eric's twist on the blues, and all those guys, those three guys, like, changed the face of guitar, and it's still the standard. So to be able to play, you know, kind of pay a little tribute back to the guys that I learned from, and that I respect, and who I've been fortunate enough to meet, and in some cases become friends with, to come full circle like this is almost bizarre and a great honor.
Wow. You hit every question that I wanted to ask. In a
Well, now you go
soundbite.
back and dissect them a
In a,
little more specific.
in a soundbite. I mean,
Oh, really?
That was amazing.
I'm just going off the top of my head, man. I mean, the music meant a lot to me. I mean, it set a standard that everyone is still trying to attain 30 some odd years ago. I mean, you know, these guys, I mean, Jeff, Eric, and Jimmy, I mean, set the whole entire vocabulary, you know, with the exception of Jimmy, who you have to mention in there, but it wasn't related to this particular project. But it was all happening in England at that same time, that same between 64 and 67. The face of guitar changed forever.
Why that song for you?
You know, it was interesting. Well, I mean, it was the only song that Jeff and Jimmy ever played on together. It was the only song, as far as I know, recorded. Anyway, I know they played together, which is bizarre because there's a lot of guitars going on that, you know. And it just, then for me, just going to school again, digging out the old records when I came in to do the session for the guys. I dug out, you know, I went out and got the record and dug it out again, you know, and started listening to it all again. I go, wow, man, this stuff still sounds great. Now, if you ask those guys, they're gonna go, oh, that was a long time ago, or whatever. But like for us guys playing on, you know, grew up with trying to learn the stuff off the record, you know, picking up the needle and going back. How did they get that in? You know, all those amazing sounds that would come out. It was just astounding to be sitting in the room with the guys that were in the original band, looking at me, going, okay, play. It's like, oh, no pressure, just Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page already did this record, but here, you do something. It's like, you know, I felt like my dick should be lobbed out or something like that, you know.
How did you approach both sides of that? Because, you know, basically they played against each other.
That's what was cool. It would have been interesting to see how that would have carried on if they would have stayed with that. The dual guitar thing, you know, it's like, as far as I know, it's like probably the first super guitar duel on record, you know what I mean? Even though it wasn't really a duel, but you know what I'm saying? It's like two giants playing at the same time with each other. There's not a lot of two guitar bands anymore. You know, you think of the Allman Brothers, you think of, you know, all the greats. But there's not a lot. There was always one great guitar player or something like that, but two guys playing like at that level. Wow, deep.
So would you say Jimi Hendrix or who came first, the Yardbirds or Jimi Hendrix?
Yardbirds.
Yardbirds.
I don't think, I mean, Jimmy was a genius and, like, you know, he had his own thing going. But the way all the English guys, you know, actually specifically Jeff, Eric, and Jimmy approached the blues from, you know, taking the black man's blues of America and putting a psychedelic twist to it, even though they may not have realized they were actually consciously doing that at the time. I think Jimmy grasped onto that because he was hanging out over there, you know, and everybody was given to everybody else. You know, everybody went to see everybody else play. I heard the stories from the Cats. I was going, man, I was born 10 years too late because I really wish I was there. I still wish I was there.